Queensland. We all know it as that state, but I'm talking about rugby league here. Honestly, you can argue in origin, it's all about Queensland. It's the Queensland underdog story. Obviously, New South Wales Blues fans and like me could argue that it's all about the Blues, but it's really not what I'm going to be talking about here today. I'm going to be talking about the Brisbane Broncos, the Queensland golden boy of clubs, the main club, the iconic club of entire Queensland with the iconic maroon and gold colours. But wonder they never existed. I know some will think that's a silly question, but I wanted to look into it. So today I've made you an alternate timeline of what I believe would happen if the Brisbane Broncos never existed. By the way, before we get into it, there could be two options here. One, Brisbane teams and just general Queensland teams never really enter New South Wales Rugby League, and Rugby League this day, the NRL is still even the New South Wales Rugby League, or just NRL, but without any like Queensland teams. That could be a big possibility. But we're going to talk about more options too, where we still see Queensland teams, but you see a team like the Cowboys and the Titans who perform much better and aren't that main team. With that said, let's begin. Okay, let's go back to the 1987. The New South Wales Rugby League expansion plans to Brisbane end up falling through here due to a failed private investment negotiations. The Broncos were never created. You go to 1988 now, where the Gold Coast team, the Gold Coast Giants, are the only Queensland team who entered the New South Wales Rugby League. They were originally going to be one of the two teams, but with no Broncos, they're just the one. They attract really solid local support and just a lot throughout Queensland because they're the only Queensland team in the league, signing key Queensland stars who could have gone on to play for the Broncos and would have gone on to play for the Broncos. In the early 1990s, the Cowboys, the North Queensland Cowboys and the South Queensland Crushers both wanted to enter the league, but they decided to propose to each other a merge, create a single unified Queensland bid to strengthen financial viability and statewide support. It was a good idea and it did go through. 1995, with them being in the league, the Queensland Cowboys, they weren't off to the best of starts, but they looked really promising, signing a bunch of talent and gaining so much support. Obviously there was annoying stuff, happening to if you're a fan of the club, they play in so many places. They play in Townsville and Brisbane and Ipswich and all of that, being in both locations to maximise the market. Okay, 1996 and 97. The team struggles with travel logistics but retains decent crowds due to be Queensland flagship club. Talking about the Cowboys, by the way. And then the Gold Coast team rebrand to the Chargers, as in reality, and they still remain the second Queensland club, which people call them, even though they are the OG one. 1998, post-Super League war, the NRL rationalised teams. The Gold Coast Chargers and the Queensland Cowboys are very lucky to survive. They wanted to cut off the Titans and possibly the Cowboys, but they were able to survive and they kept on going. They looked really promising, both teams, and obviously Gold Coast had so much support. They were the OG team there. We go into the 2000s now, where we have no Broncos. The Cowboys do become Queensland's most popular team, gaining huge following statewide. And the Gold Coast Titans are created as in reality in 2007, but with stronger and early recruitment due to the lack of Broncos competition. Also just so much more of a fan base, because yes, they were originally Queensland, the original first Queensland team. They had a bunch of changes, they left and they came back. They're still kind of thinking them as the same club here. So that's why they have a lot of support. Then you go into the 2010s. The NRL think, wait a minute, how are we not having anyone play in Brisbane? Yes, sometimes the Cowboys will come down, but with them making that decision in the 2010s to go and play up in Townsville, making them officially be called the North Queensland Cowboys, they knew they had to pull that trigger. They decided to give Brisbane a team, and it was going to be called the Brisbane Bison. So the Broncos would have never existed, but I do think a new Brisbane team would have eventually been made. The Bison here did enter in 2015. The team will played out in the Suncorp, instantly gaining a large supporter base and rivalries with the Gold Coast Titans and the newly made North Queensland Cowboys. Then we go in 2023. where the Dolphins should have joined the NRL. It never happened, really. Well, just yet. It took them another year until 2024 to finally get in the league. It just took them much longer, and then obviously they had the newly put in Bison only a few years ago. It was just one that was like, oh, should we really? And there's another team at Suncorp. A bunch of confusion. It took them an extra year. They did end up joining. So that's really what I've got up to. But I know a lot of people want to think about premierships, positions, things we would have missed out on. So let's talk about that. We'll talk about some key premierships. The Titans never had any. Even under any of the Gold Coast names, never had one. Queensland, the North Queensland team, or just overall just Queensland as was called for most of the seasons, did win their first premiership in 2015, which I believe was the year I set for them to be changed to North Queensland. The 2010's Brisbane team here, 2015 they arrived, the Bison, competitive but with no premierships in their first decade. Look like they'll probably get it in the next couple of years, and the Dolphins enter in 2024, and they're still building gradually. Key impact, you obviously have no Wayne Bennett, Broncos legacy, no 6 titles, not that dynasty, never happened. Cowboys become the iconic Queensland team, Gold Coast team gets stronger and more fans, Brisbane market delayed for years and years, and the Dolphins still remain the nearest team. The Cowboys were the best performing team. Even from the Queensland and the North Queensland team name, they were the best performing. And then actually the Bison were probably in second before the Titans, because the Titans just had a lot of from like 13th to like 16th position. But anyway, that's it. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want another video like this, write to it with another club, put it in the comments. Thank you to all who joined the Discord. Make sure to join it because you'll be put on the screen in the next video. See you guys in the next one. Goodbye.